Hello friends, welcome to this quick how-to legal guide on mini sessions. My name is Rachel Branke. I am a head photographer and lawyer at TheLawTog. We are the go-to legal resource for photographers, been around for a bit. You've probably seen me at WPPI, PPA, Creative Live, and other places. But enough about me. You're not here to hear about that. You're here to learn a little bit about mini sessions. Now, here is the thing. You are going to hear things on TheLawTog that are so different than other sources because I am also a business strategist. I've also been a photographer. I am also an entrepreneur. I get what you're going through. But I want to share today not just the legal aspects in mini sessions, but kind of some marketing pieces in business strategy as well. You can find all this in the blog post at TheLawTog. You probably are watching this. It's got a link nearby or the text is below. Now, mini sessions are a unique type of offering for portrait photography businesses or any type of photography businesses that are looking to do, as you're going to see in a little bit, there's a couple goals that you can have with mini sessions. But the thing is, with the word mini in front of it, sometimes there's a negative connotation or it's mistaken as not as important just because it's mini, right? Doesn't mean you have to give your client as good of experience or you're not going to have as many issues. And actually, that's not true. You could have actually more issues with mini sessions than you do with like a full-on portrait session. So really it all depends on how you handle expectations of clients. You may end up with more unintended issues than you expected, which we're going to get into. So in this quick how-to guide, you're going to learn tips, tricks, potential pitfalls, and of course, proposed solutions, because that is what TheLawTog, am here for. So not only are you getting legal, but there's some business and marketing strategy that you're not going to want to miss. So, of course, what is a mini session? Well, there is simply that. They are a mini version of your standard offering. So, typically, if you do a hour-long session, you get 15 digital files in the collection. You'll probably do a mini session of like 15 minutes, only with 3 to 5 files included in it. Now, keep in mind, these sessions are not typically booked as one-off. That's kind of the way that you're able to get good revenue and keep your costs down is that they're done marathon style. So for example, you'd pick one location, maybe carve out 5 hours, and you would rotate through clients every 15 to 20 minutes, and those would be their sessions. Again, marathon style, it's mini. You're not giving the full experience. So why and how to offer these mini sessions? Well, they're a great way to expand your portfolio, introduce clients to portrait photography custom-wise, right? Put out creative output for you and your business, or simply to generate revenue. Now, it's important to recognize what your goals are, right? If you're looking at creating a experience for your clients, but you want to make a little bit more money, upselling is a good one. To get your clients into more products, you got to be prepared with proper sales tools and skills. But as you can see, it's a really good revenue generation if you do it properly. You just have to be sure to capture the potential clients and engage clients' contact information for email marketing in the future, which we're going to talk about in a bit. But I don't want you guys to simply rely on word of mouth or a social media algorithm to serve up your post. So you want to direct email to potential and past clients' inboxes is a great way to cultivate routine clients year to year. We're going to get into marketing below. Mini sessions are also a great way to expand portfolio without you having to do it for free. Now, I understand not all model calls or stylist shoots have to be free and just sweat equity, but you can utilize mini sessions as a good paid alternative to model calls. But it's also good for creative output. If you're looking at trying your hand at new props, setups, or other creative output, mini sessions are a good way to attract clients who will help execute this vision, just like you would with model calls. But once you determine what your goal is, you can move into the marketing process. Now, again, this video is not going to be full on marketing, but I wanted to give you a little tidbit here. You want to look at who it is that you're wanting to serve for your photography business, what your unique selling position is going to be that separates you from others, not just for the mini session, but your mini session is a piece of the marketing puzzle. You also want to see how are you going to serve your clients? Like, what are your normal offerings that are not normally at the mini session rate? We talked about that a little bit ago. The example of like 1 hour giving 15 digital files versus a 15-minute session with like 3 to 5 files, right? And also figuring out where are these potential clients at to even receive your marketing. Are they Instagram, Google? This formula should be the foundation for everything. Actually, no matter what type of marketing that you're in. Once you've nailed it down, you can create your mini session offering. And we have to start here because we can't even get into the legal tools and strategy until we know what we're going to offer. So, when are you going to offer the mini session? How long is the session going to be? Will it be themed? Because this is a big thing. And you know what? As a mother, I'm a mother of 5. I am a sucker for mini sessions that are themed. I absolutely love it. I love the creativity that photographers put into it. So will it be themed? And if so, how much will you spend on that theme? How many people will you allow in the session? This is a really important question. Like for me, I know with 5 kids, I typically go over the max amount that a photographer wants for in the session. Just because 5 kids, even though mine are older now, when they were younger, 5 kids takes longer than 15, 20 minutes sometimes, right? So that is on the photographer at that point to say to me, the client, hey, either you need to book 2 mini session slots back to back, or we need to put you into a full price session, right? So that's one of those ways you can upsell too, but you need to know how many people you're going to allow in the session. Are you going to allow for reschedules? If you've already selected a very specific day and a theme and you're doing it all marathon style, are you going to allow a reschedule within the day? Probably not, because you're booking it back to back, but maybe so. Or are you going to allow people to reschedule to another day? Keeping in mind that that's more time, money, and energy that you're going to spend elsewhere. What's going to be included? Are there going to be digital files, prints, other products? Also, what will be the minimum and maximum number of mini sessions that you need in this time frame of a marathon style session day to be successful? And I just put successful because that definition varies on what your goals are, which we already talked about at the top. How will you deliver the products and files? And of course, because I'm the TheLawTog, what legal tools are needed to protect your time and the sale and all the things. So once you've gone through the checklist to formulate the offering, then we can start creating the advertising and the bookings, right? So here are the legal tools that you want to utilize to protect your mini session. This is getting booked. This is getting your clients in the door, right? You're going to have a mini session services contract. The core services contract creates the legal relationship and sets the expectations with the clients. Like I mentioned before, just because it's mini doesn't mean that it's any less important. In fact, we even had a post in the TheLawTog Facebook group. If you're not a member, come and join. But we had a post in there about what are the biggest issues that you see with mini sessions. And oftentimes, it's not setting the proper expectations, which can be done right here in your mini session contract. So it's important in this contract, you want to include mini session specific legal language that sets the expectation and definition of what a mini session is, what's included, if reschedules will be allowed, if they're going to have the same theme or not, if offered, and things like that. Also, always, any type of portrait photography, we want to have a model release. This is the client giving permission to the photographer for the use of their face or their privacy publicity rights in photographer's marketing. Also, a print release. Photographers giving limited personal use permissions to reproduce digital files to the client. And then you see the other 2 that we have on here are on a case-by-case basis. You want to use a live animal waiver if you're using a live animal in the course of the session. Now, just because I'm mentioning this doesn't mean I'm necessarily advocating or not advocating against it. We have resources on the TheLawTog, articles you can go read about this. There's different permitting and regulations, and also just care that you want to take when you have live animals so you don't hurt individuals in the photographs and or hurt the animals as well. And also a prop liability waiver. If you're going to use props like sparklers or smoke bombs, etc., you may want to consider if they're of dangerous potential nature, you want a very specific liability waiver. So all of these, as you can see, we're not just going to say, hey, I need a photography contract. And typically that's referring to that main mini session services contract. We want to look at all the things that we need because they all have different legal purposes. And of course, one of the things, like I've already mentioned, that we want to make sure that we're on top of is being as efficient as possible with mini sessions because the profit margin may be lower there, right? Even though you're spending less time, you need to make sure you're really spending less time. So let's get as efficient as we can, whether it's mini sessions or full-on portraits or weddings or anything. And when we're onboarding our clients, let's try to do it as digitally, virtually, and easy as possible for our clients and ourselves. I have a list of recommendations on the TheLawTog that I am a big fan of these different systems. They don't pay me to say this. These are just codes that I have for you guys so that you know that these are good ones to use and these are industry accepted. So use online contract signing systems. They are legal and legit and allows your contract that's signed to be legally binding. Just ensure that you're displaying the contract as a contract. You're not hiding it into like a client guide and having them sign, right? You want to make sure that you still have the requisite elements of a contract. You've got offer, acceptance. So you're offering to the client is accepting. You're going to have a trade of money. You're both agreeing to the terms. And of course, age of majority, they can consent and not under the influence. So hopefully your client's not a little tipsy when they sign the contract. But in all seriousness, we want to have the contract terms understood and meet all the contract elements. And of course, I'm a big fan of any systems that allow for like one-click online signing, payment, and scheduling all at once. I utilize this in my own businesses. Dubsado has a good one-click for this and is amazing, especially for mini sessions. And USession is one of a new system out there that is specific for mini sessions. So make sure you check that out. Now, tips for implementing these successful mini sessions. We have said it repeatedly so far. Set all the proper expectations through your marketing and contract forms. Reduce your time, money, and energy. Reduce your time and maximize your money, actually, and your energy. You want to build in breaks, though. You know, we're doing marathon style, but we want to make sure that we have some buffer in between all of the sessions during the day, just because life happens. People will be late, kids will be uncooperative. You want to have breaks in between the sessions just in case. As always, if you've heard me talk at any other time about contracts, always take a non-refundable initial payment. In my mind, a client is not a client until they have signed the contract, they pay that initial non-refundable payment. And we won't get into it here. If you have questions on like the difference between retainer and deposit, I have an article on TheLawTog about that, but really important that we try to take all the ambiguities off the table. We have all the right legal language in there so that once you reserve that mini session date or any like portrait session type time, and you've reserved that time, you've turned away other clients, you've not been able to market, you've done all the work on it, you should be compensated for that. And that's what that initial non-refundable payment should be all about, but we have to have the legal language in there. So make sure you take the payment and also pair that with legal language that all the TheLawTog photography contracts have. And we talked about upsells above, but if you're definitely going to do upsells, make sure that you are letting the clients know what is included, which we've already talked about in contract and in marketing, what is included in the session, how long the session is going to be, that whole checklist. But also, if you're going to sell to them, you need to let clients know what the additional pricing would be for additional products later, because we don't want them to feel like it's a bait and switch, right? Even though they're not forced to buy any contracts, or I'm sorry, contracts, even though they're not forced to buy any products, we don't want them to feel like it's a bait and switch. So give them all the information up front. And you're also setting the stage and getting them excited. You could ask them questions of, hey, you know, you're getting 3 digital files with this, but look at this really cool album we could do. Or, oh my goodness, this canvas we could put on the wall in your living room. Like, you can lay little nuggets while you're giving them the pricing, so it's not so like, look at my pricing. But just make sure that we're informing clients of all the aspects before they get into signing the contract and remitting that non-refundable initial payment. But of course, you want to protect the sales. If you're doing upsells, you want to have like final sell legal language, which we have, and a product delivery acknowledgement form. That is a tongue twister. Product delivery acknowledgement form. So especially if you're delivering high dollar things such as canvases, prints, mounts, and albums, we want clients to inspect and receive and sign off that all is good to go. Now, of course, we don't stop the legalities there. We want to tie this in also to how we can leverage mini sessions in the future for future marketing. Mini sessions, just as any session, should be used as leverage points to acquire new clients. To maximize this approach, we need to follow actions and use legal tools to exist. So we already talked about this, but obviously we want to have a model release so that we can share about the mini session for this session event and also for going forward. So anytime we want to use photographs in future marketing, have a model release signed by the individuals in the photographs or their legal guardian or parent. We also want to solicit testimonials from our existing clients for use in future marketing. Be sure to use a testimonial release form to get their permissions for this, especially if it wasn't like a full-on solicitation. If they just sent you some feedback by email and you really liked a sentence that they say, get their permission, right? It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You could just copy paste the language out of the testimonial release form, email it back and be like, hey, can I use this in marketing? They email back and say, yep, we're good to go. It doesn't have to be a formal thing, right? We just want to have the right legal language there. Now, I also think it's incredibly important to add clients to our email marketing list and also potential clients to our email marketing list, because email marketing is the cheapest, easiest, and most direct way to stay in front of existing clients and potential clients. But we got to make sure that we have the right permissions to add them to the list. These are federal and state regulations, and make sure you have a privacy policy and website terms included on your website. If you're unsure really what all the legalities you need for your website, we have an entire website terms bundle that has a full-on checklist to help you. And especially like the last one here, if you're using Facebook, Instagram, or even Google Ads or other pixels or tracking such as Google Analytics for targeting existing and potential client lists for future marketing, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's a really good action item for you to throw into your to-do list for this week. But if you are doing this already, be sure you have proper pixel tracking legal language in your website terms and privacy policy. Now that's a lot, right? And I understand that sometimes, most often, mini sessions are used for either a newer photographer or someone that's making a pivot, or we talked about the other goals up top. But if you're someone that's sitting here completely and utterly overwhelmed right now, what if I'm a brand new photographer? What do I absolutely need? At a bare minimum, once you've done your legal business setup, hopefully, if you don't know how to, we've got our free download, our legal roadmap walks you through it. But at a minimum, I want you to get the mini session contract bundle, right? And you can see the inclusions. You can go to a local lawyer if you want, but at a minimum, the services contract, model release, and print release. We also have additional resources at TheLawTog. We've got our free Facebook community on Facebook, obviously, Facebook community. We have an online web course that can help you with that. And then we very specifically have articles related to the use of live animals during a photography session. Is it legal? What should you do? And all the things. So that was a really quick and dirty little how-to legal guide on mini sessions. I would love to hear if you guys have questions. I will answer in like comments if you want to just reach out to us. My team is available here for you, and so am I. So we have the chat bubble on the website. We have the community group on Facebook. We are here to help, and we are constantly updating these guides as much as possible. So when you ask questions, if you need me to clarify something, reach out, let me know. I am here for you, because the entire goal is to elevate the industry, help you stay legally protected so that we can all have successful businesses to live the life that we want to have. So best of luck. Enjoy your mini sessions.